Wise Child by Monica Furlong, Chapter 9, The Cellar. To start with, it was like walking downstairs in a house. There was plaster on the walls and strong, solid stairs underneath. Then the plaster turned into rock, and the stairs were unevenly cut from the rock beneath. We had to walk more carefully, but the surface was dry and the air quite fresh and pleasant. It was tiring walking down so many stairs, however, and I was glad when the stairs came to an end. We walked through a sort of doorway in the rock. It looked as if there might once have been a door that swung there on giant hinges, and we found ourselves in a rock chamber 30 or 40 feet across. It was completely empty. Both of us, I think, felt flat with disappointment. I had seen myself taking up handfuls of shining stones and letting them run winking through my fingers. Also, we seemed to have reached a dead end. This chamber was just a storeroom, like the cellars some rich people had under their houses. We sat down on the sandy floor. "Boring old cave," said Coleman. "Rotten." But then Coleman, who always noticed everything before I did, lifted his head like a dog getting a scent. "There's a wind blowing." Taking the lantern from me, he moved quickly to the far side of the cave. Then it was as if he disappeared through the wall. The light of the lantern flickered and left only a shadow behind. I was alone in the darkness. "Coleman!" "It's all right," he said, returning. "There's a way through. A bit of a squeeze, but we're both small." Soon we were crawling and pulling ourselves through the tunnel, grazing knees and bumping heads. I could feel blood sticky on my hair, and I was beginning to sweat with the effort of crawling. "I don't like this much," I said, trying to keep calm. "Easier to go on than go back," Coleman pointed out, and I understood that the only way out would be to crawl backward. We went on and on. There was a buzzing in my ears, which grew into a sort of roaring. "I can hear a dragon," I said. "I'm going back." But Coleman kept doggedly on, and I was too scared not to follow him. "It'll eat us as we come out the other end," I warned him. Although he wasn't as frightened as I was, I noticed that after this he went more slowly. "It's water," he said suddenly. As soon as he said it, I realized that yes, of course it was water. The tunnel was moving upward sharply, and we could see light above us. There were footholds in the last part of the tunnel, and first Coleman, then I, pulled ourselves up. It was a beautiful sight. The light was quite dim and came from a small crack in the rock about 100 feet above us. We were on a shelf of rock, and falling in front of us was a solid sheet of water. It fell many feet below into a natural basin of stone, and from there it flowed out, I supposed, through underground channels into the river we both knew well. On each side of it were great hanging ferns, which filled the whole cavern with a green, mysterious light, rather as if we were under the sea. "Oh," said Coleman, his face alight with the wonder of it. "Isn't it lovely?" At first it seemed, as before, that there was no way forward. But this time it was I who discovered foot and handholds that moved downward from our ledge, and it was I, so recently freed from fear of height and of water, who went first this time, encouraging Coleman, who hated heights himself, even finding places for his feet. "Easy, wasn't it?" he said nonchalantly when we got to the bottom. We were puzzled for a moment because such path as there was seemed to lead right into the curtain of water. We both guessed what that meant, and holding hands, we dashed through the side of the waterfall. Soon we were safe behind it, gasping from the cold water, on a rocky path in a gray water world. Coleman said something I could not hear. The water made so much noise. Both of us, however, were in a mood of exaltation, just the two of us in this marvelous place. We hugged each other and laughed with pleasure. This rocky path led to another ledge on the other side. This time we had to edge our way out for about 20 feet along a ledge no wider than 9 inches, uneasily aware of the tumbling water and sharp rocks beneath us. I was glad of the day with Juniper when I had crossed the stream. Neither of us dared breathe as we made this part of the journey. Both of us trembled slightly when the path widened and led downward toward a dark passage. "We mustn't forget we've got to get back," I said in a fussy, grown-up way. The path wound down and down for perhaps a mile. We passed through a series of caves into the biggest chamber I had ever seen, like a banqueting hall or a huge barn without any hay in it. Just holding the lantern aloft did not reveal the height of the roof, which I guessed was many feet above us. The diameter of the room appeared to be several hundred feet. As we walked around the perimeter of it, we noticed what looked like chairs carved in the rock. Thrones, really. And one enormous throne at one end. On the walls were sconces for candles. The sheer size of it made us feel small and foolish. We felt even more foolish when we decided to leave the chamber and go on our way. We discovered that there were many tunnels out of the chamber, that all of them looked alike, and that we could not remember which one we had come in by. The throne was to the left of where we came in. No, it wasn't. We only noticed it after we had walked around. Don't let's go any farther. Let's try to find the way we came and go back. Coleman did not disagree. We tried several of the tunnels, one after the other, but none of them seemed to lead to the caverns, the tunnel, and the ledge. We tried listening hard for the sound of the waterfall, but it was too far away now to guide us. "I'm hungry," I said. "Shut up. Shut up yourself." We might have pursued this quarrel, but I had begun to notice that there were paintings on the walls. Lifting up the lantern, I saw a picture of a sort of table with what looked like a kid on it, and a man in a mask standing over it with a knife, cutting its throat. I had often seen men in the village kill the spring lambs like that. "Look at this," I exclaimed. The next picture showed a girl, a bit older than me, wearing a white dress and carrying flowers. She was walking in a procession. Fascinated by this, I moved on to the next painting. She was lying on the table just like the kid, and the man with the knife was approaching her. "Oh," I said, frightened. I could not resist looking at the next painting. This one was quite different. It showed an enormous, terrifying devil sitting in a room very like the room we were in. The same girl was held in his mighty hand, and he appeared to be eating her. I suppose because I was so horrified by this picture, I began to back away from the wall toward the center of the room. I do not have a very clear idea of what happened next, only the recollection of the ground being no longer under my feet, and the appalling feeling of falling through space. I gave a shrill scream.